Welcome to Roosevelt Live. We're in season 4 here. We got some topics today we're going to discuss. And but remind everybody before we get started that we are on Tuesdays. Every Tuesday, 6:30. Same as when we were on Wednesdays, but Tuesdays now, and repeats itself back on Fridays. So if we happen, be out there looking around on Friday and you see the show and you try to catch back on Wednesday, just remember we moved to Tuesday. So just a little friendly reminder for the people that were watching. So we're going to move to the first topic. And the first topic today is the Casey Anthony case. It's been about 3 years, I think. And this thing is finally starting to go to look for jury now over in the Pinellas County area. You need about 20 people. And I noticed the other day that somehow, I don't know how it happened, but somehow one of the witnesses were called for jury duty, which is obviously bizarre that would happen. And then that person, that ding-dong, went out and knew full well that he was a witness, that he shouldn't have been in the jury pool. Instead of him going and reporting it immediately, he went and started talking to some 49 or 50 potential jurors and discussed the case and did all kinds of stuff and caused the judge, Judge Perry, to wind up throwing out all those potential jurors because of what he did. And then when the judge questioned him about it, he kind of was lackadaisical about what had happened, and the judge fined him $450. I think that may have put a light on his head that he shouldn't go do that, but I think the guy was looking for publicity because I noticed on the news, obviously he was walking out of the courtroom and all the cameras and the microphone, and I guess he felt like a real star. He probably went home, he probably had his DVR recording every movement so he can go and talk about how he was a star. But he's still going to be out of pocket $450, and the judge could have actually put him in jail. I mean, obviously held him in contempt because he didn't have a logical reason why he did it. He said he wanted to get out of jury duty. And I think that infuriated the judge to a degree because if you're going to do something like that, you better come up with some type of story that makes some sense and not say, I didn't want to be a juror. Well, you weren't going to be a juror because he was already a witness, so that would be impossible. So the guy's kind of silly if you look at it from that standpoint. But this case has been going on for so long now. Well, it's not even, I'll take that back. It haven't even been a case yet. It seems like it happened yesterday because it's been in the news, in the top 10 things in the news for the last 3 years. So finally we may get some closure to find out who, took this little girl's life. She was only 2 years old. And hopefully, it looks like, according to some statements earlier, that the defense might be trying to blame the murder on the grandfather, which is somewhat twisted in itself because how would your daughter agree to try to blame the murder on the grandfather instead of going another direction? But you're looking at a lot of time, if not death penalty. If not death penalty, definitely life without possibility of parole, perhaps. So, you already been incarcerated for 3 years, basically, or not necessarily incarcerated for 3 years, but the case been going on. I mean, the information, I don't think she's been actually incarcerated for 3 years. She didn't get arrested the same day, but she did eventually get arrested a couple of different times. But this last time, she wasn't able to get out, obviously, because she stayed in there for quite a period of time already. But I know over in Pinellas County, where they were looking for these prospective jurors, and then they're going to have them sequestered in Orlando for, they say, anywhere to up to 2 months, maybe even a little more. That's a long time. And then what happens in a situation like that, when you start polling people, how many people can and will and able to leave their homes for 2 months? Most people have families, if nothing else. Somebody probably got, I'm sure, so a lot of people got jobs perhaps. And we know how it works. I mean, they're going to pay for their hotel, which they have no choice, but they have them sequestered. Food, stuff like that, but getting $30 a day. I believe, and maybe I'm wrong, but I know I've been summoned for jury duty a couple of times myself, and I believe that more people would be susceptible to the jury duty if they were getting paid equal to whatever their jobs was paying them. I think that's the key a lot of times, because who is going to take off work, say for instance, a week and get paid $30 a day? That's not going to happen, because that's only $210 if you even looked at it as a 7-day deal. You're not looking at a lot of money. So people are not willing to take off work and make $210. That's even if you count on a 10-day basis. If you count on a 5-day basis, it's even worse than that. So I think one of the solutions would be to, if you work a job and you were making, hey, You're making $300 a day and you have to be out. I think they should pay the $300 a day. I think you'll get more people willing to do the job. Of course, they're gonna have to prove that. They will have to prove that they were making these X amount of dollars. And some people may say, well, we shouldn't do it. Yes, you should, because some people say, yeah, but it's your duty. No, it's your economical situations that causes us not to want to do something. And $30 a day would definitely, I could afford to be off work, but I would not necessarily want to be off if all I was getting was $30 a day. I mean, you're not doing jury duty to get paid per se. That's not your main motivation. But if you're used to making, like I said, even if you're making $100 a day, if you're making $100 a day Monday through Friday, it means you're making $500 a week. Why would you want to make $210? You got a $280 deficit there, or whatever it is, somewhere in the area. It's just not going to cut it. And I think that's what causes a lot of people not wanting to go through the process. And then in this case, you're talking about going from your home, uprooting yourself, and living in a hotel in Orlando for 2 months. I don't see why that's going to be any fun. I mean, even though you're having food, you don't have home-cooked meals. I mean, you're not with your family if you do have one. And if you have children, that's a problem. I just think to me, the way we pick jurors has to be revamped. Now, I'm not suggesting we have professional jurors, because that would be a disaster. Now you're talking about the same people sitting on different cases, and they can be corrupt too easily. And people can start paying money to people, and before you know it, they can get guilty or innocent verdicts all day long. So we don't want that to happen. But I do think we have to revamp the way the system is in place now, so it won't keep happening. I mean, people get called for jury duty, people that's even underage. You get people being checked for jury duty that's not even alive anymore. So however this stuff goes on, they have to fix it, because someone is not doing their research. They don't know what's going on. Because if you're picking people that's dead, you're picking people that are kids. I mean, and if you haven't been summoned for jury duty, you probably haven't registered to vote. Because the moment you register to vote, here it comes. Okay, that it happens. And another thing that I don't like, when you are summoned, sometimes you sit down there all day and don't get picked. Now the entire day has been shot. You sitting down there I know when I was down there, you went from holding room to a courtroom, back into another holding room, back into a courtroom, and this could go on all day too. And then they ask you what I think is questions are a little bit, bizarre at times. I mean, you have to answer them though. So if it's personal, sometimes they ask you questions that's a little bit personal. You may not want these people in the room to know the answer to the question, but you need to answer the questions, and that way you move on. I don't suggest people just sit around and lie and try to get out of jury duty, but I do think it's a burden if you have a family, and I think it's definitely a burden when they're long cases. Can you imagine sitting on the O.J. Simpson case from years ago? I think that thing went on for months. Can you imagine sitting on that? I don't know. I don't think they were sequestered. I don't recall. It's been quite a long time ago. It's a little bit easier, I guess, if you're going from home to the courthouse, perhaps. But if you have to actually stay in a hotel for months at a time, I think that's just a little bit over the top. I understand the reason why they do it, because they don't want your mind to be tainted with stuff that you see in the media, or stuff you can read in the papers. So that means for 2 months you can't read a newspaper. If you do read one, you can't go on the internet. You can't, I guess, listen to the radio, and you're not supposed to talk about the case amongst yourselves, period. That's a little bit, we weren't born with internet, so we should be able to just get around that kind of stuff, but now we kind of addicted to some of this stuff. Some people are anyway. I mean, I do go on the internet, but it's usually to go out there and try to do some work, not to go out there and just surf the internet and look for things that are not money makers. I think that's a waste of time, but to each his own. Some people are addicted to Facebooks and everything else. They can't seem to get enough of it. I'm not one of those people, because while you Facebooking, you're making no money, in my opinion. If you're doing your work, you should be climbing around on Facebook anyway. And that's no knock on these obviously billions of people on Facebook. Well, millions, not billions, but millions of people on Facebook. So that's a little bit off subject, but if everybody watches the show knows I digress quite often during the show. I start talking about other things, I get off point. Sometimes it just, the topic leads me to something else, and then I always come back to it, just so I don't really sound like I'm losing my mind by going completely off task and then not ever getting back to it. But I'm ready for the case to start. I'm not sure whether or not there's cameras in the courtroom the whole time. I know we've been seeing some stuff today, but this, like I said, we're just looking at jury selection right now and nothing else. So I don't know how long that's going to take, since the judge had to go back, like I said, and almost start over again, and finally come down to these 20 people, and then off they go to Orlando to start working this case. I mean, I remember in the beginning, I remember watching the grandparents, and I remember watching the people in front of their homes disrespecting their home. And I remember thinking, it couldn't be my house. Because if you're in my yard, talking crap to me, and then nobody's doing anything, and you're trying to come home from work or wherever they were coming from, people out there with picket signs, people out there with lights, people out there shouting obscenities at these folks while they're trying to go to their home. And I remember thinking, the police need to come out there and get these people out from these people's house. And then someone said, well, they have a right to picket. Okay, well, on the street, that's cool. But I think the picketing it's the difference between picketing and a silent protest and marching with your signs in front of someone's house may be inconvenient for the parents, but that's one thing. But when people out there screaming and howling and pointing fingers and talking crap, it wouldn't be in front of my house. Because I can assure you, the police will be out there every day. There'll be a lot of arrests, maybe, probably including myself, because people will be getting knocked out. Now, I'm advocating violence, people, so don't say Roosevelt out there doing it again. He's always talking against it, he's doing it. I'm just saying, if you saw the show, I mean, not the show, but if you saw the news coverage like I did, you saw the people. You saw the rudeness of them. You saw the stuff that they would say to the grandparents. You know, whether they thought that their daughter was guilty or not is one thing. But when you start screaming and hollering every time somebody try to go in their yard, blocking people pathway when they're trying to go in their driveway, you know, basically almost beating on their car if they leave the house, that's not happening in my yard. That's not going to happen. The police going to be called and only told once, better get out of here, because if this kind of activity continues, you got to come to actually camp out here, because there's going to be some problems, because you can't have people just going overboard. I see the media do it sometimes too, where they sticking cameras in people's face. And I remember the Bernie Madoff thing. You know, I'm going off subject a little bit again, but I remember when he was coming out of the courthouse. And of course, the guy, what he did was terrible. No one's gonna say he didn't do anything that was terrible, because a lot of people lost all they worked for. But I remember him walking down the sidewalk coming out of court. And I remember the camera guy literally pushed him back so he could continue to take pictures of him, whatever he's doing. I remember thinking to myself, well, what kind of rule is that? Where it's one thing for someone is taking your picture or filming you, you're in the public eye. You know, you're outside in the public and they can do that. But when the camera people start putting their hands on you, pushing you back, won't let you go the direction you want to go, so they can do things to keep you out there, that's not going to work either. Those type of things get people in trouble. So I guess they know who to be pushing on and who to be hitting on and who houses to stand in front of. And in the case of some of these media people, it's actually been attacked by people, which no one's advocating that. I've seen people attack reporters. I've seen them get attacked by people when they go do a story. You just jump on them. People start beating up on them and everything. That's crazy too. Everybody should stay their own ground. If the reporter comes to do some type of report on some type of news, people don't want them to report on it, then they don't have to talk to them. But they can't start beating up on people because of it. And like I said again, I saw the coverage. It's been going on now for some 3 years. So we see it all the time. It's like it happened yesterday, because it's always in the media. Somewhere between 1 to 10 stories, that story's gonna be brought up. So when we're back to that point now, let's find out what's gonna happen. The way I figure it, if the trial can ever get started, it seems like the defense has been delaying that trial for quite a while. I don't know. That's what it appears to me. I think the judge is getting tired of all these crazy emotions and ready to get the trial going. So I'm ready to get it going and move forward and get this thing out of the forefront. And hopefully the little girl, whoever may have killed that little girl, whether it's on purpose or by accident, she's still dead at 2 years of age, and somebody needs to pay the price. And we need to move forward. Those are just my opinions. You know, if you watch the show, you know I've got a whole bunch of opinions. I'm always talking about them, and I try to express my opinion without being rude toward other people's opinions, but they are mine, and I'm willing to talk about them, and everybody watch the show knows that. If you care to comment, and I know you can't call in, it's not a call-in show, so if you care to comment, you want to send me an email, send me an email at liveroosevelt@gmail.com. Or you can go out there on YouTube. And I noticed today, and I didn't get to tell my producer about it yet, but I went on YouTube and noticed that Roosevelt Live was an hour-long running show out there. That caught me by surprise, obviously, because we have been like 10-minute segments, maybe 12, but never an hour long. So this is good news for me. Not that I'm promoting YouTube, I'm just simply saying that I see that. So my producer had something to tell me probably during a break that I obviously did not know about. So go out on YouTube, check out the show. It's youtube.com/Roosevelt Live, and see some of the segments that are out there. And now look like you can see the entire show if you happen to miss it, or you want to go back and check it out. So I'm your host. I'm Roosevelt with Roosevelt Live. Welcome back to Roosevelt Live. In this segment of the show, we're going to talk about the lady. Her name is Tammy Clinton. She was a school teacher at middle school. Don't recall the name of middle school right now, but I'm sure people are going to know what I'm talking about when I start the conversation. And because it's a repetitiveness going on here with these teachers having relations with these young boys. This boy happened to be 14 years old. This teacher was his mentor in his 7th and 8th grade year, and she pretty much took advantage of that. She got charged with lewd and lascivious conduct, and she got 10 years of probation. And my understanding is the little 14-year-old kid already had problems with communication, and he had some other disabilities that he had that was causing him problems, and she's supposed to have been there to help mentor him and get him in a better frame of mind, I guess. And instead she took advantage of a person that already had some shortcomings in his life, and even though she didn't have actual intercourse with him, but a lot of touchy-feely stuff was going on, and talking to him personally about her marriage, which is kind of crazy. It was a 14-year-old. What can he possibly offer you? The brightest student at 14. What kind of insight could he offer her? Obviously, she has some type of a problem. But I don't like this for the 10-year probation thing. I'm not feeling that, because it has to stop. They have to find a way of stopping this kind of nonsense. Every time you look up, and I don't want anybody to get away with anything, but I keep saying to myself, what would have happened if there was a man? The men will not get 10 years of probation. I can assure you that. But I'm not just saying that it's a man-woman thing, even though I believe it's definitely a lot more leniency when it's women. Somehow, we as a nation does not see the same damage. We're not as outraged when it's a female perpetrating this type of crimes upon young males as we would be outraged if there was a male perpetrating that type of crime upon a young female. We would lose our minds. And that's a double standard that we have to stop. We have to stop this. We need to. And every time I hear the parents that want to put their kid through, and I do understand that, and I do say but, the state needs to go in and prosecute anyway. And somebody might say, yeah, Roosevelt, you can say that, but the state needs to start witness, and that would be the kid. Well, you know what? I have seen cases, depending on what the case is. You let that be, say, somebody went out and they, tried to do something to an official person. I can assure you, witness or no witness, they're going to do something about it. They're going to prosecute to the full extent of the law. They don't care how they do it. They're going to get it done. And I think at the same type of approach they use to do that, they should use to stop some of these people. I do not like or agree with the judge giving her 10 years of probation. I don't see where it does any good whatsoever, because anything short of jail, it's just not going to cut it. I know they said, well, she was a teacher that didn't have any blemishes on her record. I don't care if she didn't have any blemishes on her record. If you commit a murder, it might be your first one. Should we give you a pass and say, well, you know what? He never committed a murder before that we know of, so he should get a pass? No. If you commit the murder for the first time, you get in trouble just like if you committed the murder for the 5th time. And if she committed this, which obviously she did, she pleaded guilty or no contest or whatever she pleaded. The point is that they're not going to try. So she did a plea deal. And I don't think the judge, I wonder what these judges be so quick to get these probational sentences if they're their own kids. Okay? You have to look at children as your own, because that's how I think you think about it, as your own. Because if that was the judge's kid, maybe he would think a little bit different than giving this lady 10 years probation. Somebody said, well, maybe she didn't have any intercourse. I don't care. The point was she was in a position of authority. She was supposed to be mentoring this child that already had problems. And the mother says since then he's had behavior problems now. He has a problem trusting anybody. He even felt guilty from telling somebody about what happened to him, the teacher. So now at 14, on top of the problems he already had, he now has more problems. That sucks. And that's why the judge should have looked at it as his own children and said, whatever. Now, I'm not suggesting you go outside the law. But if you can give her 10 years of probation, which is a long time, then I think you could have gave her some jail time. That's just my opinion. It's one thing if somebody has 6 months probation. Then maybe if it's only 6 months probation, then maybe jail time is not warranted. But if someone has 10 years of probation, they should have gone to jail. She should have gone to jail. It shouldn't be no excuses for this kind of behavior. This lady is a school teacher. She was put out there to teach children younger than children, people that are not adults yet. And they looked up to her. She abused her teacher status. She abused her certificate as a teacher. She abused it when he was in the 7th grade. She abused it when he was in the 8th grade, when she was supposed to be mentoring him. The parents trusted her. They trusted her to help with their kid, and she betrayed them. And I don't think the 10 years of probation, it just doesn't satisfy me. I think Miss Tammy Renee Clinton should have gotten 10 years in jail, in prison. And if not 10 years, why are you going to get 10 years for when she didn't do that? She didn't have to, okay, all right, then, but she should have got some jail time. 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 1 year. Something to say, look, we're not going to tolerate this crap. Because now you got probation. What we got to do now? We got somebody to check up on her. I mean, I don't know what all she got. I don't know if she got an ankle bracelet. I'm not sure what all the deal is. But if it has anything to do with where we, the state, or whatever state, this is in Florida, have to look this person up and go run behind them and check on them, we spending money. If we's in jail, we're going to look for her. But I know. But then we'll be paying money to house her, right? But at least she wouldn't be harming another 14-year-old trying to, and if her husband got incensed, he need to get rid of her because obviously she's suffering from some type of mental illness. Because anybody that would sit down and talk to a 14-year-old and try to tell them about their problems with their marriage is cuckoo. So she's obviously a cuckoo person. But that doesn't excuse her. Cuckoo or not. I'm not one of those people that say, oh, crazy versus not crazy. So if you do something to somebody, if you're deemed crazy, then you should go to a mental institution instead of going to jail. I don't care if you are crazy, go to jail anyway. Put a mental institution in jail. People get away with stuff pleading crazy when they're not. I just don't like it. But it's happening all the time. I mean, we look at the case over here in Polk County. You got Sheriff Grady Judd. He just they just had one of those internet things where they bust these people for getting on the internet and trying to lure these young children in to have sexual relations with them. They just got 22 men. Amongst those men, one of those people were a National Guardsman. Wow. One of those people was in the Navy, was a Navy sailor. One of those people was a technician specialist who had top secret clearance. That's just 3 of them. Why did I single those people out? Well, because one of the reasons is because that shows you it transcends all type of people. So people won't just think there's some guy with a 3rd grade education that's on bum on the street. No, some of these people are in positions of authority and also of skill, but they're still sexual predators, irregardless. And I think that's awful. And they came bringing gifts, clothes, condoms, had all kind of crap with them to try to seduce these little children into a physical relationship with grown men. They sick. But see, that's what I'm saying. This is a big issue. How many times have we seen that caught on camera thing? How many times we watched that Catch a Predator? Those people, even though they've seen it, Dateline with Catch a Predator, how many times have we seen it? I see it come on almost every Sunday. But through it all, these people are still out there trying to get little children to sleep with them. Those are sick individuals. That lady, Tammy Renee Clinton, is a sick individual. These guys that I singled out, I don't know their name, they're sick individuals, along with the other 18 or 19 people that I don't know anything about. I just know it's another 19. And I tell you, you could go there next week and do the same thing and get another group of child molesters out there trying to lure young children into traps that have a relationship with them by trying to buy them clothes and bringing toys. If you bringing toys, clearly you 22 men out there. And I'll call you a man because that's what the paper said. But to me, you're a bunch of punks because you don't deserve to wear the title man when you're going after children. You don't deserve that title. And I'm hoping that all 22 of those people get convicted and not get probation. And I hope they get good, stiff jail sentences. And I hope that when they get in that jail, that those people in there that's been in there for years, in there that haven't eaten any junk food, none but the food that they feed them, they don't drink, they don't smoke, so they had nothing to do but trim that body down and be healthy, mad, suppressed, strong individuals, especially with those using those weights. If you see Lock Up Raw and all those programs that come on Sunday, then you see these guys out there pumping them weights. And I got news for these little fragile people that's going to go into those prisons. Look out. Because while you was trying to molest children, you might get molested yourself. And I would not feel bad if you did. Because you deserve to be where you're at if you wind up there. Because you was trying to hurt someone else. You was going to run a child for life. You was going to scar their every being from inside out. That they weren't going to be able to function right in society. They weren't going to be able to have regular relationships like other people. You were going to really mess their minds up and their bodies. So if you wind up in there with some of these big burly guys that haven't been around women for years and look at you as you could be their woman with their eyes closed, I'm not trying to get graphic. I'm just simply saying, look out, people. Then you get out there and we all heard, and I haven't been incarcerated, but we all heard that the lowest form of life in prison is the rapists and child molesters. So you know going in, when you're a child molester, everybody gonna know what your record is. Everybody gonna know what you're there for. They may not know exactly right when you first get there, but it won't be long. The word always gets out. I assume that I don't know who's telling what, but somehow they find out what you're there for. And when that happens, you're in big trouble. And I don't feel sorry for you because you put yourself there. I'm just saying, women are their weapon of choice is the children in school. The men's weapon of choice is the internet. It is something going on because in the last, I say, 8 years, maybe 10, it's been a lot of cases of women having relationships with young boys. In this case, this boy was 14. She started mentoring him, like I said again, to his 7th and 8th grade year. That when he was 12 and 13. And then she tried to have a relationship with him. That lady is crazy. Just like what the other lady name was, Tammy Faye or whatever her name was, over here at Greco Middle School. She was crazy. Riding around, having a relationship with a boy, riding up in Tallahassee, making out in the vehicle as driving, just crazy stuff. I know the husband felt like a fool. Because I know I would if you find out not only your wife is having an affair, but you're having an affair with a freaking 14-year-old. You have to, and you may even question yourself. I would hope not, but you got to know at that point that she got a couple loose screws. Elevator definitely is not making it to the very number on the. You may have 9, 10 floors pushed in on that elevator, but that lady elevator was not making it to all 10. I can assure you that. If she was lucky if she would get into 1 or 2, because obviously something's wrong with someone that go out there and riding around and clamming in the backseat of cars like she's some 16-year-old on our sweetheart dance in high school. This was a teacher. Went to school. Got a degree. Came back to the school. Taught junior high school. And once again, you ever notice? It's a lot of children that they're messing with. Usually, it's in that age group. 12, 13, 14. These ladies are child molesters. You don't hardly ever hear them having a relationship with an 18-year-old senior. Because they're too much like a man. See that? By the time them guys are 18, they got facial hair, they're big, they got a deep voice. They don't want them. They want the little ones. They want the 14-year-olds and the 13-year-olds and 12-year-olds. That to me is child molesting. End the story. No ins or outs about it. Those are child molesters. And every last one of those women should go to prison. Period. The judge got to start looking at this as it's his own children or his children's children. And maybe then he would think more about 10 years of probation versus going to prison. I don't care what her record was. I don't care that she didn't have a previous. I don't care that she was a good teacher. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. It's irrelevant. We can't have apples and oranges mixed up together. Well, if she was a good teacher, then therefore she shouldn't get in jail time. I don't care what kind of teacher she was. Jail time, jail time, jail time, jail time. Why? Because I think that she got caught, but I don't believe it was the first time it ever happened. So that's just my opinion. I think that some other stuff went on, and that's just how I see it. So, believe it or not, that's how I see it. So those are my opinions. People that want to agree or disagree can always feel free to contact me. LiveRoosevelt@gmail.com. Check out segments of the show at YouTube. YouTube.com/RooseveltLive. You also can check out the show Tuesdays at 6:30, playing back again Fridays at 6:30. As well as the fact that it's on, if you don't know, what you would think that if you're watching, you know what you're looking at, right? But maybe you want to tell somebody. And if you want to tell somebody, I'm just feeding the information out there. It can't hurt. So we have Bright House channel 950, 949, Verizon channel 3036, and if anything changes, we will try and let people know in advance of checking the message board at the station to see whether or not we change time slots or days of the week. So these are my opinions. Tell me what you think about the school teacher, Miss Tammy Renee Clinton, or the Polk County Sheriff, what's his name? His name Grady Judd, and the stuff that he did a good job he's doing. He was on Dr. Drew last night talking about this stuff and the bust that they had did. And maybe you haven't heard about it. If you did, and then also it was in the TBT, so you can also read up on it, find out for yourself. And you know, I'm not trying to promote TBT, but I'm just saying you can get the paper, you can go out there and get TBT online. So it's whichever. So I'm Roosevelt. I'm your host of Roosevelt Live.